Oh, it's never said that before. Okay. So, our presentation is on Hawaiian. Not even going to try and say the name in Hawaiian because I will butcher it and I don't want to do that. Oh, God. Okay. So, Hawaiian is a Polynesian language. It's in the Austronesian language family, and it's closely related to Samoan, Marquesan, I think that's how you say it, Tahitian, Maori, Rapa Nui, and Tongan. Um, Hawaiian is the official language of Hawaii, along with English. As of 2008, there were about 24,000 native speakers. Um, in 2001, less than 0.1% of the state population were native speakers. Um, so there's a lot of people in Hawaii also speak English. There are some people on a privately owned island called Niihau, and they speak a local dialect of Hawaiian. Um, in about 300 CE, colonization of the island started, and it was started by the Marquesans, and then they were joined by people from the Society Islands and Samoa Tonga. Then in about 1780 to 1820-ish, European languages such as Spanish, Russian, French, and German arrived on the island from explorers and businessmen. Um, in 1839, that king, I don't know how to say it, established the first Hawaiian language constitution. And then from the 1830s to the 1950s, English sort of started to take over. Um, and since 1949, there have been more efforts to preserve Hawaiian. Um, and then Hawaii became an official state in 1959. And that's my piece. So somebody else can go now.
Okay. Um, Hawaiian used to be a strictly oral language before 1778, which was the year where the language was first recorded. In 1820, missionaries came to Hawaii to spread Christianity and the teachings of the Bible. It was difficult to spread it effectively, however, because there was no written language to spread it quickly. As such, in 1826, the missionaries created the Hawaiian alphabet in order to translate the Bible into a written language for the people of Hawaii and taught them to read and write. Um, the alphabet went through some changes throughout history. Currently, it contains 13 letters, which are the five vowels A, E, I, O, and U, and the eight consonants H, K, L, M, N, P, W, and Okina, or the glottal stop. Missionaries used the apostrophe to represent the Okina, and around 40 years after the creation of the alphabet in 1864, the Okina became part of it officially. Um, there were also some changes in terms of removing letters as well. For example, the consonants E, D, R, T, and V were originally part of the alphabet, but after a vote by developers to eliminate some characters, some letters that were interchangeable per se, to make it easier to teach and learn, they were dropped. So, for example, between B and P, since they were deemed interchangeable letters, the B was dropped. For L and R, the R was dropped. K and T was dropped. And V and W, the V was dropped. And just a little more information on the alphabet. The letters F, G, S, Y, and Z are used for foreign words, so they're not part of the official alphabet. For example, Brazil, fully Hawaiianized, I guess you could say, would be Palakila, but to like make it, I guess, closer or like more authentic to the foreign word itself, it, they borrow some foreign letters, and that would make it Barazila. And there are seven diphthongs as well, and they're not part of the alphabet either, but they're also used commonly. And there's also the kahako, or the macron, which indicates a long vowel. So there's more emphasis on that particular vowel with the straight line on top of it, as opposed to the entirety of the word. And so that's the really abbreviated summary of the Hawaiian alphabet and the writing system.
So some background in Hawaii. So in the 1970s, there was this big movement to bring, I guess, revitalize the language as people realized that the people who had grown up speaking it as as their first language were the older generations. So the language is starting to die. So in 1978, the state of Hawaii passed a law that would promote the study of Hawaiian culture, history, and language. And some educators thought that the best approach to revitalize the language would be through the kiki, which is the children. There was a large push for Hawaiian language programs in school, and in the 1980s, the Hawaiian Department of Education authorized the creation of Hawaiian immersion schools, although the department did not approve or provide any curriculum or support. So many of the programs that came from that as well was the Kupuna program, the Hawaiian Studies program, the Punana Leo schools, and the Aha Punana Leo organization. And as of 2019, there are 21 immersion schools, and the University of Hawaii now offers a bachelor's, master's, and PhD program in the Hawaiian language. So more on the Kupuna program. I personally thought this program was really interesting because Kupuna means grandparent, ancestor, and or honored elder. So part of the program was to bring in these highly respected people who had more knowledge of Hawaiian culture and language, and they were invited to classrooms to speak about their own knowledge and the Hawaiian language. So it became a more integral part of the classroom setting. So some other history, many newspapers that were printed in Hawaiian were printed in Hawaiian before they were printed in English. And in 1896, there were 14 Hawaiian language newspapers, but the last one that was published was in 1948 when the last Hawaiian language newspaper was shut down. And on the right, you can see an example of one of those newspapers that was published in 1948. So here are some examples of media in the Hawaiian language. On the left is a cartoon meant to teach young kids basic Hawaiian, such as numbers and things like that. And on the right, it was a TV program broadcasted in Hawaiian, meant to talk about the revitalization and history of Hawaiian. And both of these videos that can be found on YouTube are in the Hawaiian language.
Do you want to play them or?
Sure, whichever one.
Let's do the cartoon.
Kila kila kuwa hivi Olindo lindo kikai Ulu vehi vehi ke awama Nanania o ka aina I know hivi I know hivi ai ole akani akamana Havana vana o ke kai Ke ahea kamakani Kalea o nā o iwi aina o iwi aina o iwi
You want to play more?
I think that's good.
Okay.
And some part of the Hawaiian culture that I wanted to highlight as well were organizations that were created outside of Hawaii, actually globally. They're known as Hawaiian culture groups, and that's where people come together to learn about different aspects of Hawaiian culture. So there are groups that focus on the Hawaiian language, Hawaiian music, Hawaiian food, hula, and more. And I thought this was really interesting because it contributes to the revitalization of Hawaiian, but it's not in Hawaii, it's off the islands, and I thought that was really interesting.
Hello. So I'm going to talk about language identity, culture, and revitalization and reclamation of culture. So in the 2010 census, 156,000 people said that they were quote unquote Native Hawaiian. Why is that important? Many of the population are mixed with something else. So only a small percentage, and as you can see, 14% of Hawaiians identified as Native Hawaiian, and of those, they lived in poverty. So that would be about 21,840 people were living in poverty. They have been known to experience higher than average rates of teen pregnancies, substance abuse, and suicide. There is, and I just wanted to note briefly that there is a Hawaiian Sign Language. Not very much is known about it, but they're working on it and you can learn a little bit about it, and they're trying to revitalize it. Lastly, I wanted to talk about is mo'olelo, which means storytelling, which many teachers will use in their classroom. And they will use that as an oral tradition or a way of spreading the language. And it also is incorporated in hula. Some of the people that are helping to make the change are William Pila Wilson. He's a professor at U of Hawaii Hilo. Ultimately, he is one of the people that helps decide new parts of the language. He has a key role in developing the state laws, and he protects and promotes other, not just Hawaiian, but other Native American languages. There's Candace Galam, an associate professor in the Department of Language, and she also is helping with the preservation of First Nation and endangered languages. There's Larry Kimura, who is known as the grandfather of language, and he's kind of important because he is also at the University of Hawaii Hilo. He is the chair. He develops new words needed for the language. So anytime we come up with a new word that the Hawaiian language didn't have, he's the guy to figure out how it would lay and work within the language. And then Kaipo Kelling is a teacher of 5th and 6th graders at one of Hawaii's dozen schools that we discussed. His early experience showed him that there were consequences for the erasure of their language and their culture. He felt the need to kind of erase that, or I guess intercede in the loss of the language. And he's the one that uses mo'olelo to help his students understand their history. Can you play the video on the left, please?
Kunihi ka mauna I ka laie o wai ale ale la I wai lua. Hu kia ela I ka lani ka papa a wai o ka wai kini. Ala ia ela e no nalo ka ipu haa ka laula mauko ka paa e. Mai paa I ka leo. He ole ka hea mai e. Aloha mai kākou o vau no o Candace Kaleimamo o Wahine Kapugala, o Hawaii ku one hanau. I'd like to acknowledge that we are on the unceded Coast Salish territory.
More or
Nope,
not?
that's perfect. It would have stopped there anyway.
Oh, great.
And then, so this is Candace and Candace Gala. She is in Canada presently, but she is working on the revitalization of language. If you want to do the second one for a few minutes, it kind of will give you some insight.
I'm going to have you close your eyes. Imagine that we are the last remaining speakers of English on this planet. How does this make you feel? Still with your eyes closed, we look around. We see familiar faces, but our children are not here. Our parents are not here because English is not their language of communication. They are not part of this English-speaking group due to many reasons that may include colonization, assimilation, cultural genocide, residential schooling, language and educational policies, language shaming, language ideologies and attitudes. As we continue to search, it is striking that we notice an absence of youth. It is obvious that there is a disruption of language transmission from one generation to the next. And in fact, English is now shifting to another more dominant language. Now open your eyes. What would we lose if English were no longer spoken?
Perfect, Jill. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. So the significant thing about what Candace is saying is it's helping people get an idea of what it's like to start losing their language, or giving primarily those of us who are English speakers the idea of what it's like to have part of your language and then part of your culture not being passed down to your children, and how those things can create a greater loss overall for your culture. So the next thing I wanted to talk about were the two distinct types of hula. And the reason hula is important, we've mentioned it earlier, it's a way of passing on not only dance tradition, but oral history. So these hulas tell a story. The two categories are hula kahiko, which is the original hula dance that was done outside, done before outside influences. So it's got different sounds than what most of us have experienced as hula. Most of us have experienced the awana one, which is primarily the one done for tourists. When you see a lot of videos of people doing hula, that's what you'll see. The reason I added this person, Kim Taylor Reese, they are a photographer, and he is one of the few people that have captured the essence and spirit in his art. He does photography, videography, there's sculpting and other things available, but he's helping to preserve and also to expand other people's knowledge about hula culture. Our next video is a young lady performing a little bit of that, the hula kahiko. That should be perfect, Jill. Thank you. And then lastly, we have a quote that I feel ties it all together. It's from William Pila, and he says, "You don't have to do full immersion to add on to your knowledge of Hawaiian. Practicing hula, making music, and celebrating the culture. Everyone can play a different role, and we are probably stronger playing diverse roles in the revitalization. The most important thing is to preserve what we have and add on to that. Stay conscious, keep interacting with the language." That's it. Thank you.